And Abdullah ibn Ma'qil, here it mentions radiyallahu anhu, but Abdullah ibn Ma'qil, he is from the Tabi'een. So one would say about him, rahimahullah. And some of the people of knowledge, they mention possibly the radiyallahu anhu is referring here to Ma'qil ibn Muqarrin, yani his father, who is from the companions, radiyallahu anhu. In any case, it's allowed to say this about the Tabi'een, radiyallahu anhu, but the methodology in general of the people of knowledge, specifically the people of hadith, is that whenever they mention the Tabi'een and those after them, they will say rahimahullah, rahimahullah. And then whenever they mention the companions, they would specify them with radiyallahu anhum, with radiyallahu anhu. And whenever they mention the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then he would be specified with the salah and the salam. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam, alayhi salatu wassalam. And whenever the rest of the anbiya they are mentioned, then one will suffice with the salam, alayhi as-salam or alayhim as-salam. This is the methodology in general of the people of hadith. But here it's mentioned radiyallahu anhu. So the people of knowledge mentioned that possibly this was a mistake, or that what this is a reference to is the father, which is Ma'qil ibn Muqarrin radiyallahu anhu. Or otherwise, then normally what the author himself he would write, and which is from his methodology, is to say rahimahullah after those from the Tabi'een. Although it's allowed, and it's not impermissible, but this is the methodology that one would traverse upon. But if a person, he mentioned them in order, and he mentioned them together, then, for example, if he mentioned some of the companions, and after that some of the Tabi'een, then he would say radiyallahu anhum, and they'll be included. And they'll be included in this manner like this, and this is the case. So it's general in this manner like this. There's another benefit likewise to mention, and that is that with regards to writing this, with regards to writing the salat and the salam, whenever the name of the Prophet is mentioned, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, kitabatu as-salati was-salam, as-salati was-salam ala nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The methodology of the people of hadith is that whenever he's writing, he'll write the name of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Prophet, or he will say an-nabi, or Rasulullah, or an-nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or any of his names, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and one will write the salat and the salam after that entirety. If he's going to write it, he will write sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he will not write sad. The people of hadith, they dislike this, and this is not the methodology of the scholars of hadith. It's not something that the people of knowledge they prefer, or they like, or they advise. Rather, they advise to not do that. A person, he will not write sad. A person, he will not write any rams, any rumuz. He will not write any letters indicating that a person is giving the salat and the salam. He will not write, for example, in English, SAW. He will not write that. Person, he will not write that. He's either going to write the word properly, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in reference to the Prophet, or he's going to write radiyallahu anhu, in reference to the Sahabi, or he's going to write rahimahullah, rahimahullah, in reference to those after them. He's going to write it just like that, spell it out properly entirely, or he's not going to write it at all, or he's not going to write it at all. There's two options with regards to writing these supplications for the Prophet and for the companions and for the Tabi'een and those after them from the people of knowledge, sallallahu alayhi wasallam wa radiyallahu anil jami', that either one, he will write it or he will not write it. But one will not write, he will not write R.A. for radiyallahu anhu, or any other acronym. Whether he will write it entirely or he will not write it at all. But if he writes it or if he doesn't write it, he will still pronounce it. So the pronunciation is made in every case. A person who's writing the hadith, a person who's writing the narrations, every time the name of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes, whenever he's writing, he'll say it sallallahu alaihi wasallam to himself. He will say it, or he'll say radiyallahu anhu, or he'll say rahimahullah. He will say that to himself whenever he's writing, and he will say it. But as for writing it, it's his option. He will, if he wants to write it, he will write it entirely. If he doesn't want to write it, he doesn't have to write it, but he will say it. And many of the people of knowledge, they will leave a place. Like for example, Imam Ahmed, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his Al-Musnad, which has thousands of narrations, many times he will leave a blank space after that. They will write quickly, and they'll leave a blank space after the name of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come back and to write it later. And to write it later. So this is an option likewise. So this is the case. A person, if he's going to write it, for example, he's writing in his book, or he's taking notes, or he's reviewing, or he's summarizing knowledge, or he is texting a text and the likes like this, he's going to either text it and type it or write it entirely, or he's not going to write it at all. But whenever he texts it, or whenever he types it, or whenever he writes it, he's going to say it though. So the point is, the methodology is to not put a sad, or SAW, or RA, and the likes like this. And the people of knowledge, they have mentioned this in the books of hadith specifically. So from the signs to see that, for example, you read a book or you read a website and the likes like this, maybe a person, he's not sure who these people are. If he sees them doing the likes of this, it's very clear that they do not have knowledge of the people of hadith. This is from those signs that a person of knowledge will be able to distinguish the type of individual who's speaking or writing. And from this affair, this is not from the methodology. So As-Suyuti, he mentioned this, and Nawawi, he mentioned this. This is mentioned in the books of Mustalah Hadith, that the methodology in Muhaddithin, that this is how they move. This is how they write. And all the way back from the times of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala. So if a person is reading a book and he sees their RA, he knows that the people there, they're unaware of some of the most fundamental issues with regards to hadith. So therefore, this is an indication that the book is not reliable, or the people, they're not qualified. And so he would not trust the likes of these affairs. So the point is, a person of knowledge, he will not do that. And those who follow them likewise, they will not do that as well. This is a benefit here. So there's no blame in not writing it if he didn't write it. For example, somebody's typing his brother, he mentions something about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sometimes it's hard to type it all, especially if he's typing in English. And the likes like this, to spell it all out, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the likes like this, maybe he's in a hurry, then he will skip that. But he will say it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in this manner like this, And if he typed it out, it's better for him, alhamdulillah. And if he typed it in Arabic, it's even better. And Allah knows best. In any case, the author, he says, and Abdullah ibn Ma'qil rahimahullah ta'ala, أنه قال جلست إلى كعب بن عجرة رضي الله عنه. Like this, likewise, we see here in the text. What does it say? It's not written. It's not written, but the one who reads, he will say it. And some of the people of knowledge, they mentioned that the one who reads, for example, if a student, he's reading to his teacher, and he's reading in order to get an ijazah, for example, or to get some approval for narrating, or he's reading in this manner as a tahdith, in the methodology of the Salaf in the days of narration, and the likes like this, then that which is not there, it will be read. But many times the people of knowledge mentioned that he will lower his voice or lower his head, so that those who are writing in their books behind them, they'll know that that wording is not actually in the manuscript. So one will say, whenever he's reading, جَلَسْتُ إِلَى كَعْبِ بْنِ يُجْرَةٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ, like this, because it's not written there. So those who are behind the reader, they know that that's not in the manuscripts that's being read. That part right there is not written in the manuscript that's being read to the teacher. This is all from al-amana al-ilmiyya, for being trustworthy and reliable and transmitting knowledge. They will go to great details. So they would say these words. They would say them, radiyallahu anhu. But sometimes they wouldn't write it. And even if they didn't write it, they have the methodology for that, is that they would say it. And then if they're reading to their teacher, they would say it in a manner that let everybody else know that it's not written in the manuscript that's being read. And it's so that nothing is added that's not there. Because they would, after that, they would check and verify that which was read and that which they wrote with the actual manuscript that was from the book of the Shaykh. And then they would verify it from that, and if there's any additions or subtractions, it would be corrected. And then after it's verified, then that would be something that person is qualified to narrate from, and to memorize from, and to learn from, and eventually to teach from. In this manner, the narrations were preserved. So they have principles. And before that, they have men. Allah Azza wa Jal, all throughout time, has selected men. The best of them, the prophets and messengers. And the best of them, the 5 ulul azm. And after them, the companions and the followers of those prophets and messengers. And the best of them, the followers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And the best of them, Abu Bakr and Umar radiyallahu anhuma. And the best of them after that, the tabi'een and the atba' tabi'een and tabi'ut atba' tabi'een, until our day. There are men that Allah has chosen and selected to carry this deen and to carry this religion, and they have foundations and fundamentals and principles that they move by and that they're known by. And the one who learns them, he will have light, and he will be able to see those who are on his path, and he will be able to see those who are not on his path, and he will be able to see those who pretend to be on his path but are not on his path, and those are the most dangerous of them. those are the most dangerous of them. So it's very beneficial to learn the methodology of the Salaf, and with regards to creed first and foremost, no doubt, but likewise with regards to the methodology of life, and from that seeking knowledge. And from the best of knowledge is the knowledge of the narrations of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.